Welcome back, everybody. My name is Robert. I'm sure many of you already know that. I'm your port and shopping guide aboard the fabulous Norwegian Star. Now today is a very exciting day for me because I get to teach you all about watches and timepieces. Now this is a huge subject, hard to fit into one seminar, so please, if you have any questions, feel free to throw your hand in the air and I will gladly answer that question for you. Now the Caribbean is the #1 premier place to buy watches and timepieces. In fact, many people fly here just to enjoy the selection or the savings. And that's something we'll talk more about as we get into the seminar. For now, let's start the fascinating journey in the wonderful world of watches and timepieces. A watch speaks volumes of a person. And that is why in the Caribbean, people are able to find that big dream watch that they've always been looking for. The selection is so vast and so varied, much like the personalities I see in this room today. It is amazing. But there's a question. The #1 question always asked when buying a watch or a timepiece in the Caribbean, and that is, sir, that's right, how do I know if I'm getting a good deal? I can tell you how. First of all, the retailers do not set the prices or the discounts. The manufacturers set them. And that means you're going to enjoy 10 to 45% savings on selected timepieces. 45%. Do the math. If you're spending $1,000 somewhere else, you're saving $450. It's only costing you $550 in the Caribbean. The other thing is, all of the watches are made outside of the US. Therefore, you're going to enjoy a US tax and duty-free savings. From some countries, you'll enjoy sales tax savings. And of course, there's volume discounts. Many of the merchants buy in volume, and as we all know, the more you buy, the less it costs you. And in the Caribbean, it's more like this. So enjoy the savings. Second question asked by many people, is there a real difference between buying a watch at about $100 as opposed to buying a high-end timepiece? And of course there is. The most important reason you want to look at a high-end timepiece is longevity. It is going to last. If you're buying a timepiece to give to your son or your daughter, and for them to give it to their son or daughter, and to their son or daughter, I think you see where I'm headed with this. You want to get something that's going to last generations, not last for the time being. The other thing is durability. All Swiss-made watches are tested to the max, and that makes them highly durable. The quality of the material that makes up the movement makes the quality of the movement far superior in a high-end watch than it does in a watch that's about $100. Most importantly, one thing that many people forget about is the provenance. If you want to have a story that's attached to the watch you're buying, it's very hard to get in an inexpensive watch. If you buy a high-end timepiece like the Rolex Oyster Perpetual, the first watch ever to make the ascent of Mount Everest. What a story to be able to tell people. It's all about the value for the money when it comes to buying a $100 watch as opposed to a high-end timepiece. The other most important question people ask me is, and I love this question, how do I pick the right watch for me? I'll tell you why I love it in a minute. The best thing to do, and I know everybody here has a budget, don't ignore your budget, just put it on the back burner for a bit. Don't go into a store saying, I need a watch. Go into a store saying, I want a watch. I want a watch that tells the time and has retrograde and has a chronograph and shows the date. Know exactly what you're looking for when you go into a store, and then bring the budget back into play. And you have to trust professionals. I have been well trained to do this job and to help you. And when you get into the stores, The people selling are professionals as well, and it doesn't cost anything for our opinion. So feel free. And of course, for me, the other most important thing when choosing a watch for yourself is the Harry Potter factor. Are there any Harry Potter fans in the room? Look, a whole bunch of you. This is what I do. When I figured out what kind of watch I want, a chronograph, a dual date, a watch full of diamonds, a watch that has gold, a watch that's simplistic, whatever you have chosen, you still may have a selection in front of you. Just stand back and let those watches speak to you. Just like Harry Potter's wand, a watch is going to choose you. It sounds funny, but believe me, it can work, and you will love it when you do it. Let's talk about a few of the watches. I'm going to talk about a few of my favorites. The first one I want to speak of is the Bulova. Now the Bulova is a classic watch. I got my first one when I was 16 from my mom. And I was like, oh, this is so cool, man. And I went to show my friends. They said, oh, what do you got? Oh, I got a Bulova. I didn't know what the heck a Bulova was. I just knew that I had one and my friends didn't. Well, my mom got it for me because I turned 16 and she wanted to mark that milestone for me. And the watch seemed like the perfect idea. It was well within her budget at the time. It was stainless steel. It had a black leather strap, an orange dial. It only told the time. So it was a very simple watch, but a very classic watch. For my mother, it was a watch that she knew was accurate, that was reliable. And although it was under $100, it looked like $1 million. And to me, it might as well have been worth $10 million. Picasso, Matisse, and Van Gogh. All people you'll find in the Museum of Modern Art. But the other thing you can add to that list is Movado. Movado is one of my favorite classic dress watches. And I'll tell you a little story. When I was a younger man, still not knowing too much about watches, I was walking by a jewelry store window. And I stopped because I love pretty things. I just think pretty things are amazing. I was looking at this watch that I've never seen before. It was beautiful. I can still picture it in my mind. Beautiful gold bezel and buckle. Lovely, glossy alligator bracelet. But the face, the dial, this minimalist dial that I just couldn't stop staring at. Just an hour hand and a minute hand. And a beautifully cut diamond at the high noon position. And I kid you not, I stood there for probably 20 minutes just looking at the watch and walked away. It was only years later that I found out that this watch was the only watch to be featured in the Museum of Modern Art. Now that is a fantastic story to tell anybody when you're wearing the most beautiful watch in the world. The last watch I'd like to talk to you about, and now you have to realize that I'm not 16 anymore. Don't laugh. I'm not a young man anymore. Now I know something about watches. Here's the watch that amazes me the most today, and that is Hublot. Hublot is the most sought after watch in the world. Why? I'm going to tell you. If there's one thing I love about anything in life, it's fusion. Whether it's food, or it's fashion, or it's jewelry, Hublot is the master of fusion when it comes to watches and timepieces. And there is no watch that exemplifies this more than the Hublot Crown of Light. Now, the Crown of Light, as we know from one of the other seminars, is a patented 90-facet diamond from Diamonds International. So you have to see this watch. All these 90-facet diamonds positioned just so, all the way around the bezel. It seems as though they're floating. It's one of the most beautiful watches I've ever seen. You have to go and see it, ladies and gentlemen. I can talk forever about watches, but we don't have forever. We have the week, and we have today. So the one thing I have arranged for you, because I love Hublot so much, there's a watch called the Hublot Big Bang. And there's very few of them made. There's a waiting list. New York, Los Angeles, Miami, people are waiting to buy this watch. I have two. Not that I bought, that Diamonds International is holding for me. And between 9 and 10 tomorrow morning, if you show up, you will be the first to view these watches before they go out. And you will have first option to buy one of those two watches. You will never get an opportunity like this again, and especially at this price. So please, meet me tomorrow at Diamonds International between 9 and 10 a.m. and let's look at the Big Bang. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day of shopping. Have a great cruise, and I'll see you soon.